please let me go. You like to love so hard and then you throw it away. You like to open skies and then you blame it on me. You're someone I can never be with. You joke about my flaws and weaknesses. Why do you love so hard and then just throw it away? You opened up my heart and just to close it on me. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me. So don't you blame it on me. You never knew how bad it was. Guess you never really cared because you said your parents never gave you hugs, and as a child you were never loved. You made me love so hard, but then you threw it away. You like to open skies and then you blame it on me. You're someone I can never be with. You joke about my flaws and weaknesses. Why'd you love so hard and then just throw it away? You opened up my heart and just to close it on me. Don't blame it on me. Don't you blame it on me. Open skies. You open all my scars and then you blame it on me. You're someone I can never be with. You joke about my flaws and weaknesses. So don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me.
Standing in the cold, cold rain, I don't even feel the pain. Anything to step away. I know we could both do better. Wish you would've left me here. Now I'm just controlled by fear. What's the point in our reflection if you never look in the mirror? Counting the days until you're gone, waiting for us to carry on. Oh, I'm running, what am I running from? Time's going by, but where's the time going? I tried to give you everything, you took it all and took it for granted. If you're still falling out of love, maybe it's 'cause it's not enough. Maybe it's not enough, baby. I don't wanna lose you after all that we've been through. If you could change my mind, I would do it in a heartbeat. That's if you really love me. Setting fire to my brain, wondering how I'm to blame. You're the one who doesn't dream, so why are you always sleeping? I remember when you said you're afraid of what's ahead. What happened to ride or die? I asked and you just start crying. How are you acting so surprised? Haven't you seen it in my eyes? Oh, I'm running, what am I running from? Time's going by, but where's the time going? I tried to give you everything, you took it all and took it for granted. If you're still falling out of love, maybe it's 'cause my sins and myself, yeah. It's getting hard and I think I'm doomed. 'Cause everyone left. 'Cause everyone left. 'Cause everyone left. 'Cause everyone left. 'Cause everyone
Dude, it's all good. I feel refreshed, man. You know, what breaks are so necessary?
How about you give us an introduction and tell us what we have to look forward to today?
Dude, if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?
A banana? Alright, so Douglas, if you could relate yourself or your project, whichever one you want to go with, to a fruit, which fruit would it be and why?
Okay, I'll go with the Eagle Burst and banana.
Why banana, Joe?
Because every time I speak with H1, it feels like I'm feeling one more piece of that banana, and it keeps getting better and better.
That sounds so
That
wrong.
project is awesome. So every time you think you know it, you know everything about it, it just surprises you.
You're the kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that if you were sat in the same room, you'd be eating a banana and maintaining aggressive eye contact. That's the kind.
Push the entire thing into his mouth at once.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we'll focus on this week is making sure that you stretch.
I don't know. I reckon a coconut, a green one.
A green coconut. Okay, we've had coconut before, but not a green one. Why?
I don't know, you gotta go through the hard stuff before you can get to the good stuff. So
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think I would say probably a mango is like a fruit that you think is like pretty good, but when you actually bite into it, you're like, oh, this is delicious and amazing. It's like I'm all about trying to make things fun, make things enjoyable, and maybe a little bit surprising. Like, you know, your own mentality can make such a big difference in your life, your positivity and stuff. And I really, really enjoy being in spaces with all the people here, the other spaces that I've been in, and learning from everybody. So I get really excited, and I hope other people do too.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Crypto Lamb Show. Just realised that my mic is redlining big time there for some reason. No, I don't want to change that one. No, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm redlining. Let's turn that down a little bit on there. That might help. Potentially. Hello, there we go. So, we have a great show for you all today. Today's show involves some individuals from the space that are just absolutely incredible. They're not in the channel with me right now, but if you've been paying attention to Twitter and things like that, then you will know the people that we have coming on are absolutely extraordinary. So, without hyping them up a little bit too much, let's get everybody up here in just a sec. Let's go with bringing everybody up now into the room. And there we go. We are live, guys. Hopefully everybody is doing well. I've just been hyping everybody up on the stream. So how are you, Priest? How are you, Rugless?
I'm well. It's a beautiful day here in the Mid-Atlantic. It's at like 60 degrees and no humidity. It's what we call false fall. It's going to be like 95 degrees next week or something. So that's how it works around here. How are you doing, Ruggles?
I'm feeling very Benny.
Did you say you're feeling very Benny Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys caught the Vibestream Network stream, the last one they did, we were on there with Legoat and Journey. Amazing guys, so talented to sit there and watch them start putting things together for us. It was absolutely incredible. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and put a link somewhere at some point so you guys can go and check that out. But absolutely amazing. B Fizzle in the chat says, love you guys. Hello Fizz, thanks for listening, dude. We miss you, brother. Hopefully you'll be back soon. For those who don't know, Fizz is busy with in IRL work at the moment doing his thing, but he will be back with us soon. Hopefully sooner rather than later. So without further ado, we are going to introduce the guests that we have on today's show. One of them is called Outrageous Cat and the other one is called Coffee Converter. There is a third person supposed to be with us, but I believe they're a bit busy at the moment. So Outrageous Cat, Coffee Converter, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm a developer.
Coffee, why don't you go first?
Thought that was addressed to me, sorry. Yeah, I'm a longtime developer. Kind of been doing it ever since I was a kid in the late 80s and still doing it now. And it's my hobby outside of work as well. So in my free time, I'm usually doing this stuff. Kind of been all over the place, a lot of different industries, a lot of different companies. And last several years focusing on Web3 stuff, writing contracts. Was the CTO of a $500 million TVL DeFi project for a couple of years, and then went freelance and been doing a bunch of NFTs, and that's kind of where I am today.
Awesome. I've just noticed as well that Fidel has joined the chat. He's gone back into the Hangout, so I think our other guest that we were going to have is also here, which is awesome. So Outrageous Cat, introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, everybody. I am Outrageous Cat. I have been in the crypto space for a little over a year and a half. Started with a miner that I built for Ethereum mining and fell very quickly off the precipice into DeFi. Got involved with Freyala at the time, now Zangea and GameFi Crossing. At the same time, have been working on my artwork and photography and trying to push that on the Harmony side. We've run into some problems, obviously, on the Harmony side, so I've branched out to OpenSea as well, hoping to spread my wings a little bit from an art perspective. In real life, I am a construction executive. I am an old man compared to practically everybody. I might be a few years older than Fidel, but I'm the boomer of the group with a bent towards staying active and staying involved in the next wave of this technology that is crypto.
Awesome, thank you. And just before I introduce Fidel, you say you're the boomer of the group. Coffee Converter says he's been working away since the late 80s, which was when I was born. So I dread to think how old you guys actually are. This is, outrageous as your name implies. So Fidel, tell everybody who you are and what you do. Welcome to the show, by the way. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it or not, so welcome. And Fidel is muted. If you're not aware, Fidel, you're muted.
Am I here now?
There you go.
Sorry about that. My first time actually using the voice option here in the Discord, so I just had to get acquainted. Sorry, I was here an hour earlier. My time zones are all messed up. Let's see. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm Fidel Amos. I'm a photographer. I've been doing it for a little over 2 decades now. I came into the NFT space about 19-20 months ago, and I have found a little bit of success for myself, and so I started picking up pieces and collecting other pieces and trying to bring a lot of other artists' work into the forefront to kind of make my presence more known in the space because I love doing it. I've done a lot of different things with a lot of different companies and stuff like that. I don't really want to get too much into my past because it's not really about me today. But yeah, I'm just happy to be here. And let's just say my experiences are in photography. I just got picked up as community manager as well for an entity that's coming into the NFT space called Picture This. And so I'll be focusing a lot of my time to, bring that name up a little bit in the space as well. So, happy to be here.
Awesome, and we're absolutely happy to have all three of you. I've seen some of the stuff that you guys do, and I think you're all very, very talented dudes. So it's an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. I love it when true talent comes along and actually partakes in something like this, because we get to have some really good conversations that start flowing, and sometimes they can lead in some very weird places. So maybe that will happen today. But the thing is as well, I'm going to profess to you guys as well that you're photographers, artists, and everything in between. I know nothing reasonably about art at all, so I'm not even going to try and kind of dissect that and ask too many questions about that. So I'm really kind of looking for you guys to tell me more about what you want to tell us today, because I can sit here all day and I can try and be a good host, but I know nothing about that part of the world at all. So help me out, guys.
And I think one of the things that's important that we are on a focused lens on that side is that we understand that you guys all have things you care about and that you want your art to help support. So I think that is kind of where we're headed. So if you guys could help enlighten us and our listeners about some of the things that you guys care about and some of the awareness that you want to bring.
Thanks, Priest, for kind of laying that's kind of what I was looking to say. You articulately put it much better than I could. So,
well, I'll start because I invited. This is Kat, and I invited Fidel and Coffee to participate based on what I had seen of them out in the wild. Not only for their talent, but also their commitments and thought processes. And I think what really got me jazzed about talking about the awareness side of it was Coffee starting to bring awareness to domestic violence. And Coffee, you can talk about that later. But that made me think, there's stuff that I do in real life as well around mental health and suicide prevention that it's important to talk about, I think, especially in this space, especially with the ups and downs in the bear market and whatnot. And then I did a little bit of introspection and thought, the reason I do my art, it's exciting to me, but it's such a breathing space for me as well. It's a real opportunity for me to take some time for myself, to get jazzed by what I see out in the real world, and to present it to, friends, coworkers, and, people on the internet. And hope that it gives them some peace or a moment to look at it and say, wow, that's cool. And I'm going to transport myself there. So it's about art. And I think, Fidel, your portfolio is huge. And you've got some really cool stuff, and you've got so many different, fingers. I think you've got more than 10 fingers in so many pies out there with what you're trying to do. And I think that's, that to me was the reason for having a conversation with Priest about talking about awareness, is that there are so many layers deeper to what we do than try to sell JPEGs on the internet. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
So just to interject before Fidel or Coffee jumps in, I find this kind of deep seated in what I do as well. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware at all, but I'm actually an ex-prison officer in the UK, and we're trained to a very high standard to deal with what we refer to as SASH, which is obviously suicide and self-harm, but also criminal psychology and things like that as well. So in that respect, I know exactly where you guys are coming from. It's something that I'm very passionate about about myself. So it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys today, and just to let everybody else know it's potential that we might end up talking about some very serious subject matter. So just to make everybody aware of that as well. Sorry for interjecting. Carry on.
What do you think, Coffee?
So, yeah, I was gonna say, Coffee. Could you kind of describe one of the things you had a pinned tweet when Outrageous was asking about things, and I saw that you were looking to try to do something in regards to domestic violence. Could you talk about that project that you were interested in starting, or if you're interested in continuing it?
Yeah, actually, I'll repin that. But yeah, it's basically just a charity collection I was thinking of doing, where I was going to court a bunch of different NFT artists to just submit one or two new artworks for it. It could be anything really; it doesn't have to be on that theme. Just a collection of artists to support artists, and also to raise awareness about domestic violence, and figure out some mint price that makes sense, and have all the proceeds go to I think it's the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, a kind of a 4-star rated charity. But yeah, that was the basic idea. It came from me losing a couple old friends a few weeks ago, actually, or maybe about a month ago. They were old high school friends of mine. They had kind of like dated back then, drifted apart, got back together several years ago, and I don't know all the details of what happened with this incident, but it ended up with both of them shot and dead. So yeah, it was pretty tragic. And I'd like to say that I, wanted to raise awareness about those kinds of issues before that, but like most people, you don't really do much until it affects your life. So better late than never, I guess.
Thanks for sharing that. Sorry, dude. I think we were probably both going to say something along the same lines. Thanks for sharing that. That's extraordinarily difficult to deal with. Yeah, and every journey takes the initial steps to start, right? Like, it doesn't matter when you start it, as long as you do it. That's the important part. Fidel, do you have a cause that you are particularly behind, that you care a lot about? Is there something that you want to bring awareness to?
Yeah, man, a lot of things. You might have opened up the can right asking me that question. First of all, I'd like to apologize. I'm on the balcony. It's a little hot in my apartment, so if it gets noisy, I'll try to move inside. I think that with great power comes great responsibility quote that you hear so often is something I really have been living my life with, something I was taught by my parents and by other friends in my life. And so I've been trying to focus on that now. 1% of this space maybe will find some kind of way to make money and survive from the art that they're creating. And I'm in the 1% of that 1%. I made a lot of money in this space. I've helped a lot of people in this space. Who have in turn bought a lot of my work. And so I took it upon myself to try to help as many people as I can as I rise. So one of I guess I could just list a few causes. Research International is a company that I worked with many years ago as a photographer, doing documentary work for them. And they are basically a pro bono group of surgeons from around the world who get together every few weeks, and they go to different parts of the world, and they provide reconstructive surgery to burn victims and to abuse victims, people who are injured and can't afford to pay for their reconstructive surgery. And so I have had drops in the past with Malavika Reddy, who is another artist in the space from India. Who was another artist in the space, and she is Indian. I'm Italian American. And we created a drop that raised $4,000 or $5,000 for this company. I've done another drop with another artist. I'm having a drop here in another month or so for myself. That would be my work, where I donate again, half the money to an organization for homeless people that provides shelter and food for homeless people. Because in a lot of the street photography I do photograph homeless people as well. And so, I guess as a big names, those are kind of the things I do as far as trying to donate as much as I can to different people. And then every day I try to, if there are artists who I know perhaps don't have the money to mint, or who have made some mistakes in the space and need money to get going forward, those little bits and pieces. I try to help when I can. I think there's no real point to firing off like a rocket in this space if you're just only looking out for number one. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I don't knock people who do it, but that's not my mission. Everything that's given to me, God-given, in this space is something that I feel that I got to give people back, or pieces back to people. So that's kind of my goal now.
Can I just say as well, thanks for that, Fidel. By the way, it's I just want to say that it's an absolute honor to be surrounded by people that are, working with subjects that are very dear to me as well. Everything that you guys have mentioned are all things that are something that are very close and personal to me, things that I've worked with, things, in my life that I've taken that step through as well. It's not about me. I'm just saying, I just want to, thank you guys for everything that you do first and foremost, because, it's something I understand very well. And you're aware of, obviously, a lot of people that, do a lot of good for people and different charities and things like that. But to have three people like yourselves here in the same room that do what you do is honestly, you guys are something special on earth. There isn't enough of you. That's all I can say. So Priest.
What do you guys think would be, well, more specifically, what type of opportunity do you think there is in this space for more, well, we talk about onboarding, bringing people into Web3, right? But how many more people do you think there are like us that are all similarly like-minded? And how do we kind of recognize and show the people that are being onboarded that the people who care already exist, right? They don't have to find people who care. And I think that's one of the issues, trying to, onboard people is they're everyone in crypto is looking out for number one. They're trying to fill their own bags, like Fidel was saying. So how do we help that? How do we help that not be the case and make it more of a community driven, success for these awareness items? How do we do that? And does anybody have any ideas?
If I can, I'm a big believer in each one teach one. People watch your actions. The things that we do in the space, it's all carefully watched. It's seen. The blockchain is watched. People know where your money's going. They know what your actions are. So I think the number one thing is simply doing it. People see what you do and they tag along, and then you eventually realize who's tagging along, and you kind of bring them into the fold to do what you're doing. But the other thing that we can do as well, which I try to do, is I try to promote other artists, and not just other artists by their work, but other people in the space that I feel I could point a direction to folks when I'm saying, if you want to learn about being safe in the space, you should follow this person. If you want to know more about how to host spaces or how to have conversations, you should follow this person, that kind of thing. So to kind of guide people when I know they need a little bit of guidance, that's I think two of the best ways that we can help people moving forward.
So what would you like to see as being a better delivery method for Web3 in people coming in and searching better? Do you think that maybe we need some sort of social media platform specifically for Web3 where like-minded people can connect?
I mean, I'd love it. I don't know. I don't have the logistical knowledge to be able to do that myself. I would support anybody who did do that, as I do support many other people who in the space who are creating methods and ways that people can move forward, easier. I mean, it's funny because I just said this in a space yesterday. I think that we still have a Web 2 mentality. We say Web 3, and we want to be decentralized and do things new and everything. But we still, for example, we use Twitter, which is a Web 2 platform. We use that, to broadcast our information and to keep communication. But no one yet has really created another social site or another, social marketplace / meeting grounds where we can actually move forward in a Web3 sense. So yeah, that's a great idea. I would love to see someone do it. If anyone needs help doing it, financially, I can do that. I just don't have the knowledge to be able to create it myself. But yeah, that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when you were talking about that, it's we're all in Web3, but it's like what the fuck is Web3? You know, how can we like fully define that properly? I mean, we know what Web3 is, right? But I'm saying, how can you properly define that and be on a platform where you can say, yeah, this is Web3, this is where home is, right? Because like you say, we have that Web2 mentality and, you know, Twitter and everything else. And it's like, yeah, Twitter's great and all, but, you know, we need something that screams Web3. So, you know, that's an interesting concept. Maybe that's something that's either being worked on or can be worked on in the future. So, guys, tell us a little bit more in depth about each one of your projects. We've kind of touched briefly on what some of those things represent, what they're for, but I would like to kind of go into detail with each and every one of you. So one at a time. I don't know if maybe we should start with Outrageous Cat, if you want to kind of go into a little bit more detail about what you do, and then we can start talking about that.
Sure. Trying to figure out how to phrase this, and you know, the first word that came to mind was transparency, and Fidel alluded to that a little bit about, you know, being here, being in the moment, being honest with people, and presenting ourselves. And you know, it's kind of hard to present yourself when you're hiding behind a JPEG. You know, and at what point in time do you tell the world that you're actually involved in crypto? You know, I'm still in the middle of that struggle, you know, with a separate real world life from my crypto life. So I'm trying to figure that out. But you know, I will say, you know, in interests of transparency, I am a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for almost 11 years.
Congratulations, dude.
Thank you. And it's hard work, and it's, you know, it continues to be work, which is good, because there is payback on it. You know, every day you put in, you get a couple of days back, I think. And what I have seen in the crypto world, and you know, juxtaposed against the real world, is that there's a lot of pain and anger and entitlement and demand on a daily basis in this space that is really overwhelming. You know, it could easily drive a person to recidivism in many ways. So being aware of that and being aware of your limitations, and being open about it, I think is important. You know, recognizing again that nobody knows who I am. You know, in the real world, I've got 14,000 contacts on LinkedIn. I'm a totally different person than I am in crypto, which is again weird, as a person who struggles with substances, because it doesn't feel real. So from the perspective of you know, my art, and how that brings it in, it kind of crosses the realm for me. It brings the real world into this space, and it makes this space more mine. But I tell you, you know, Coffee, you guys have done a phenomenal job over the past almost 12 hours or so. Actually, it's been more than 12 hours with the mint at San. But to see some of the people in that server, with the demands that they have, it's like, oh my goodness gracious, how do we separate ourselves from that demand mentality, that gotta have it now mentality? How do we relax a little bit with what we're trying to do? I don't know what the answer is, but I can tell you, you know, again, from a personal perspective, I look at my art as a venue to be able to do that. It solves my problem, and hopefully it helps solve somebody else's challenges as well.
I see that you unmuted there, Priest. I've got a question as well.
So mine's not really a question; it's more of like a relation. I grew up as a child of an alcoholic, so I kind of understand the "it's not real" aspect of crypto, right? Like, because it's not the real world. You know what I mean? It's the ability for you to utilize, you know, different skill sets that you maybe didn't use in real life, or be willing to take on different challenges because there's no cost within the within your social circle of being interested in something, right? Like I find that like I also had issues with trying to figure out how to like separate myself from IRL and crypto, because like separate them, but like bring them together kind of an issue. And like, you know, I was either spending all my time working on crypto things or spending all my time working on like IRL things. And I love my daughter, but like, you know, if I'm getting paid, I gotta, you know, work on both sides. Can't just do one or the other. So, you know, my wife and I were working on like an art project together, and it's just interesting to see that like somebody who has like a similar, you know, background essentially, and it's most similar kind of experience would like utilize art as a way to try to bridge the gap between the two personalities, so to speak, of what happens in this kind of environment. I mean, like, you know, does my mother-in-law know what I do? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like, we're not having this conversation at Thanksgiving. That's not happening. You know, I'm not writing code like Coffee Converter. I'm not a dev. I'm just a dude talking, right? Like, I don't really want to have that conversation. So like, I don't really know how to bridge that either, right? Like, I know that really helped Andy, but I just wanted to shout out, like, thank you for sharing Outrageous. Like, you know, not everyone shares there on the, you know, which a friend of Bill W, etc. So appreciate it.
So I just wanted to say, if you know, if you end up talking about anything here that you don't want to talk about, just let me know. You know, it's absolutely perfectly fine. But if you're completely comfortable to talk, then great. But I just wanted to say, you know, as somebody who's familiar again with substance and alcohol abuse and treatment thereof as well, I'm just wondering how you're finding navigating a space in which, you know, in crypto as a whole, Web3 as a whole, a space that is essentially dominated by people that have the ego in the driving seat. And I think you know what I mean by that, you know, potentially. And I'm just wondering, like, how you found being able to navigate something like that, because a lot of the behaviors displayed within the Web3 and crypto space are behaviors that essentially, you know, through things like the 12-step program are essentially, you know, taught to be, you know, the not necessarily the right way to go about things.
Totally antithetical.
Yeah, so it's yeah, okay. It's probably the best way to
I think that's pretty hitting the nail on the head, right? And yeah, this is the exact opposite of the way you should be living. But this is the future, so good fucking luck. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, it's almost a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? Really, you know. So I just find it interesting because I know a lot of people as well that have been through kind of similar things, and it's very interesting to see you know, how people are able to kind of slip into this space and still be able to kind of understand, you know, the level of transference that you need when you, like, when I sign off from this, when I sign off from the work that I do, because I'm in my home, I'm at my computer, I need to be able to have a level of transference and slip back into a level of normality. So no, I hope you don't mind me asking that question.
Not at all. And you know, I will say, to put it in perspective, kind of a real world crypto perspective, notwithstanding mental health challenges, just as a professional, a business professional with, you know, over 30 years of experience, seeing where Harmony is right now with the lack of leadership or the challenges with leadership that they have is incredibly frustrating. You know, and I think, you know, I've had a lot of time to think about this, and the larger picture is, in my opinion, and this is, you know, really philosophical, but the concept of Web3 and decentralization is cool, and it gives us a lot of freedom, and it gets us out from under the finger or the thumb of the man, quote unquote. But are we ready for that? Are we as human beings ready for a society that is leaderless, that, you know, that all the responsibility is shared across the board? I think human beings are more attuned to following a leader, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but I don't know that in Web3 we can overcome that natural inclination to follow a leader to whatever end, you know. And you look at Do Kwon and his failures and where people went with him and how far they fell. It's tremendously challenging. And I think that, you know, just from a philosophical perspective, those of us that are in Web3 and anybody that wants to quote unquote run Web3 really needs to be open-minded to we are trying to change human nature. Not only are we trying to change technology in the banking system, but we're trying to change human nature. And I don't know that we're prepared for that. That's kind of the bigger picture, never mind the stresses and strains that it puts on a person with mental health challenges.
I completely agree with that sentiment, in the sense that I find it very interesting that you have so many different companies pop up and so many different initiatives and things pop up in the crypto space and Web3 space. Harmony is a perfect example of somebody, or an entity rather, where you can hide behind corporate speak all you want, but ultimately, when there is a crisis, it tends to shine through the humanity behind it. And I think a lot of people potentially get uncomfortable seeing flawed humanity in that way. And I feel, from my perspective anyway, it's exposed a lot of things. And it's a big reminder that you can distance yourself as much as possible, but we're all still human beings. We're all still emotional beings,
So how do you feel about the potential for decentralization to be life-changing? So we've heard, Outrageous thinks that there's the opportunity for, that leaderless societies may not actually be successful, which I think is kind of a nail hitting it on the head, with the power that we give people who are in positions kind of like Andy and I, and not that we know what the fuck we're talking about, but some people claim to, and they have huge followings, and then they don't do their research, etc., and they get worried about their bag. So what kind of issues do you think are coming with that? I know you have with San, you guys have such an amazing team. How do you handle everybody in that room being so awesome at what they do? They're all leaders in their own right. So how do you guys handle the decentralization there? Because it's clearly successful. So
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I'm not sure that I know how to answer the latter. I mean, we take things on a day by day basis. There are leaders, there are people that have their roles that are pretty well defined in San. The founders and people that set the vision, and for instance, I'm no one's going to tell me how to code the Solidity contract because they trust me to do it. But at the same time, I know when to ask about design elements of it, like the way it should work and the ways it could work and things like that. So I don't know. For us, it's worked really well, and I don't know if I don't think that's how we organized ourselves. It's just kind of the people that are involved that are robust enough to know how to handle that stuff and how to self-organize. But yeah, in other places it doesn't work so well. If you got something, tragedy of the commons in a lot of places where if you let the masses decide, nothing gets done in a lot of ways. And maybe that's why society tends to form governments. We have governments everywhere, and we've had governments for a long time, probably for a good reason, for better or worse. They come with warts for sure. But I do like the idea of decentralization. I'm a big fan of worker co-ops, for instance, in the United States. It's starting to trend a bit. And those aren't fully decentralized. They still have hierarchies and things like that, but they have elements of decentralization, which I really like. And so I think it just kind of has to be taken on a case by case basis. It's not a blanket thing we can just apply to society. It's more nuanced than that, I think. So it's complicated.
that's a really, really politically correct answer. I appreciate you for being able to give that after you've probably been up for 40 hours straight. So, in case anyone doesn't know, and you weren't part of the San Mint, that party last night was insane. And I can't even deal when Outrageous was talking about the aftermath. It was in slow mode this morning when I woke up, and I couldn't even send messages more than one every 5 minutes, and you couldn't even keep up with chat. It was insane. I don't understand. You guys are
sorry, guys, but it's still going. The party.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still going. Just to tell, I'm still working the crap out of this. I have some guy called Coffee that told me I have to close everyone out and clean everything and make everyone happy.
Wait, what party is this?
The San party.
San. It's a sansound.io.
I'm just sad they didn't let me call the white paper sandpaper, but I'm not gonna let that one go. Sorry, guys.
Actually, I'm kind of on Rugless' side on that one. How did that not get approved?
Yeah, it's a good name.
I tried so hard. Nobody likes the mods, man. It's incredible.
So I don't think Fidel knows what San is, and I know that's not really necessarily the point of this conversation. But Coffee, could you give him like a quick, maybe like a paragraph of what the vision of San is, so he can understand as to why we were so the party's been going for like almost 18 hours, whatever it is now.
Yeah, so the core idea here is that it's going to be a music streaming service that's more equitable for fans and artists, and make it easier for fans to support their favorite artists, and also earn while you listen. We call it listen to earn. So, and the thing that powers this is our NFT collection, which is just launched and is minting right now, almost minted out. And it's a free mint. And basically the idea is it's a free mint. You can trade them, sell them if you want, but to really unlock the power of the streaming service and gain all the benefits of it, you would soul bind it. And Vitalik Buterin wrote about this. It's the concept of locking an NFT to your wallet forever. And so this contract I wrote allows you optionally in the future here to soul bind your token to your wallet, which means it can't ever be transferred. No sales, no transfers, no anything. So it's there forever. And it's kind of a way of stamping your wallet and saying, hey, I'm committed to this project, and this is my access token now to access the streaming service. And there's all kinds of tiers you can soul bind to, and that's where the price comes in. So it's a free mint, but soul binding comes with a fee. And there's different tiers that offer you different levels of perks and things like that. But yeah, read the white paper. It's linked on the website, sansound.io, sansound.io. The white paper is really detailed and really interesting, and there's a lot of stuff we haven't even announced yet. So there's more stuff coming in the coming weeks.
So it's not the full white paper. It's like just the F white paper. It only has F of the good stuff.
So, I mean, the way that you just explained that there, Coffee, it's because I was reading through the white paper a while ago, and I was trying to wrap my head around the whole soul binding thing, and the way that you just explained it kind of pin dropped in my head. That is absolutely genius. Like I knew kind of how it was going to work, but yeah, you just completely kind of corrected a few things in my head there. So thanks for that.
Yeah, and what's really cool, another thing that's cool about soul binding is that, and I think this is alpha, I'm not sure we've even announced this, but the NFT itself will change. The art will change, the metadata will change live once you soul bind. So you go to OpenSea and refresh it, and you'll notice your art is a little bit different. It's pretty subtle, but and then the metadata will reflect that you're soul bound to level 1 or level 3 or whatever it is. So pretty cool, like kind of live changing of your token.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Well, more out.
And I think, listening to it last night, and having been on the Discord server for quite some time, the excitement around it, and the artists that are coming in is really cool. And what really kind of clicked in my brain last night, and I sent a note to my son who is studying digital marketing at university. I said, this is how you do it. And to me, right now, San is kind of a microcosm of Web3, with the sales and the art, the musical art, the digital art, the entertainment value with Kaku in the background. And I mean, it was just really wild and tremendously well done, and leveraging Twitter and Discord and Twitch all at the same time. Coffee, your team has done a phenomenal job. And I'm not just saying that to give you the kudos. I again, broader picture, this to me is kind of where what I see Web3 can be, will be, should be, perhaps, absent the whiners in Discord. This is, it's a really great leveraging of the various systems available. And, Fidel, if you got time and you can get in, I don't know if it probably will sell out before it gets to public mint, but taking this concept with, picture this, of wrapping the whole program together, because music needs digital art. They need photography to display what's going on. We as artists interpret music or interpret words or interpret other art and present it in our own way. So I see this kind of, taking us as artists and expanding our horizons more, so that we're not pigeonholed into doing one kind of thing all the time. I mean, we certainly, we focus, and Fidel, with your experience and your range, you're really good at what you do. And I don't even want to say this to take away from that, because I feel like I'm stepping over my words. But the point being is, I know that you see the food in your life. I know that you see the architecture in your life. I know that you hear the music on the street, and you're sitting on your balcony and you're soaking it in. And that's what we as artists try to express. And that's where, my bipolar goes nuts, and my high side says, man, I got to do this. I got to get the word out. And San has done a good job of leveraging the technology to do that.
Yeah, well, I thank you guys for explaining to me. I didn't know what it was, so I've written it down here for later to go and take a look at it. And also, Cat's in the corner like, every breath you take, every step you make. What do you mean? He knows.
I'll be watching you, bro. He's like staying up in here.
That's right.
So, I mean, again, just to kind of echo what I said before, you guys are obviously really passionate about what you do. And I wanted to kind of touch on, so I think we kind of already touched on it a little bit earlier in the conversation, but, a lot of people are in the crypto and NFT space because they want to load their bags, right? So that mentality that floats around in the crypto space, whilst it can be beneficial and good for projects in certain ways, because obviously people are buying what you're selling, essentially. One of the biggest things that I also find is the most toxic about the space is the way that people engage with that. And, you end up with the when moon mentality, where people are more interested in how much money they can make from something rather than actually believing in the technology and the passion and the art of what's being created. Would you guys agree with a statement that potentially, the only way that Web3 and projects such as Sunsound or, any of your projects, Outrageous or Fidel or anybody else, the only way that they can ever truly start to actually gain any real sort of traction is if we actually start to move past that mentality of when Lambo, not to be confused with the project when Lambo, I mean the statement, that we can actually, start kind of progressing properly.
I think we can do it. Well, here's the thing. I just think we're early as far as the when moon and the when Lambo. I think when we all talk about building, we all talk about community, we all talk about this NFT space as a whole, we forget that we are all this NFT space right now. All of us artists, all of us collectors, all of us putting money into different, platforms and blockchains. We are all this space right now. So to be able to get to a point where a lot of us are making money, a lot of us are, have careers in NFTs and not just 1 hour a day while we have full-time jobs, but actually to be working and, as artists and making money and making income, we have to start first by building. And by building, I don't mean building each individual person. I mean building this space up to a point where it's serious, to a point where the world has accepted it. And I'm not talking about next month. I'm talking about 2, 3, 4 years from now. Just like the internet, the only way the internet built itself up was because people started going to the internet, posting on the internet, creating websites, on the internet. And after that point, other people saw that it was safe, stable and solid and, a fixed thing that wasn't going to go away. So, yeah, we can all start talking about making money, but we can't do that now before the actual space is built. I think we need to get to a point where people begin to have individual income and have individual success. The few of us that have done it so far, it's just lucky. I mean, let's be honest, it's just lucky. It's all about who sees your work, who has the money to buy it, who's interested in buying it, who's interested in, creating DAOs and supporting other people. It's all a matter of chance, But for us to get to a point where 50% of us are taking advantage of the space and making money off the space and having a career in the space, we have a lot more work to do, and we have to do that work together.
What do you think, Outrageous Cat, Coffee Converter, about what we're talking about there?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be the sort that's pretty interested in the technology, as you might imagine. But I like money like anyone else, and I got a family to feed. But yeah, I think you're mostly right. Like the focus can't just be on money. If you think about, like, I don't know, you remember the .com boom around 2000? There was a million websites popping up, e-commerce everywhere, people selling garbage everywhere, and it fizzled out. And I kind of feel like NFTs have gone through that in the past year or so. Like, there's just so many PFP projects of animals that didn't do anything but raise someone a whole bunch of money that they ran off with. And I kind of feel like that is a natural evolution. You got to go through that phase, weed out the people that need to make their money, the people that lose their money, and then kind of come back to the core of, like, oh, wow, let's look at these projects that are still here that actually have a product or a service other than a JPEG. And, they'll live on, and people will learn and move on to better things. And I kind of feel like that's just a natural evolution, and I hope it accelerates, because it kind of seems like it's going that way in some ways. But then again, maybe that's just me ignoring all the garbage I've learned to ignore. I'm not really sure, but hopefully it progresses.
And what about yourself, Outrageous?
Well, I would agree with both Coffee and Fidel, is that there's, in the Wild West, the outlaws reigned supreme, and gradually, through settlement and governance, things started to calm down. And you look at, I'm in the Northeast, in New England, and you look at how our roads are laid out versus how the roads in Phoenix are laid out. It's a totally different story. Or DC, Priest. DC was by design, and I hate it. Phoenix was, and Phoenix is by geological necessity, basically. And here in Connecticut, ours are paved cow paths. So as we move across the country, things got better and transportation got better. And I think as we move through development of this space, it will get better. And to your point, Coffee, we will weed out the negativity. There's always going to be the crime factor. There's always going to be the scam factor. But I think we can rise to a higher level. And I think that by, we need to focus on everything. We need to focus on good works. We need to focus on art. We need to focus on government. But the cool thing about art and the impact that art has is its visual nature, is its auditory nature. It moves people in a way that a lot of other things can't. If we can create a visceral impact, and just the welcome music on the Sand Sound website is like, holy crap, this is really cool. This is a really amazing vibe. And I'm a classic rock guy, and here's EDM turning me on. There's something about what we do. I think if we keep building it, if we keep recognizing the impact that we can have, not necessarily power or authority, but impact, by presenting ourselves in a real way, I think it will come. I think that governance brings its own baggage. I think somebody referred to it as warts earlier, and that's very true. But I guess that's true of human nature. Where there are going to be the bad folks, and there are going to be the good folks, and there are going to be those that can be led by the nose in the right direction. And we need to recognize that. And I think, Fidel, you alluded to this earlier, is that if you're a leader in the space, there is a certain amount of responsibility to fulfill if you choose to do so. And God bless anybody that does, that takes that leadership role and really creates something with it.
Thank you very much for the answer there, guys. I mean, it's I find it a very interesting space, Web3, in the sense that that there is a direction that we're going in, and I think everybody wants the same thing, but it's trying to make sure that everything is constructed in the correct way. Priest, what do you think, dude?
Honestly, I feel like it's a cross between the Industrial Revolution and the Renaissance all at once. Because we're like trying to build culture while also building technology to facilitate the advancement of that culture, right? Like we were talking about the visceral experiences we have when we're looking at art, right? Whether it's sound, whether it's I'll argue food, can be art, or if it's pictures you're taking with a camera, or if it's things that you're drawing, and creating art in that way. I mean, I think it's the creative aspect of Web3 that draws people from all different parts of the spectrum, because they're all creating, right? Like he's talking about how he approaches everything from the tech side, but he's creating these things, and that is like the part of Web3 that brings us all together. It's like we're all creating stuff, and I'm not sure how to do it right. You know what I mean? That's kind of why we try to get these people who work in seemingly disparate aspects of Web3, but realistically, we're all fairly similar in some aspects, right? We all have these commonalities, despite the fact that Rugless is in Portugal and Andy's in Spain. I'm around DC, and Fidel said he was around Italy. You know what I mean? Just like we're all over the place, and yet we have like these cultural commonalities. And I find it interesting that we kind of always end up people on the podcast who want to end up being role models, or understand that like even being in a space and being a leader within your chain makes you a role model, whether you want to be one or not, right? Like, isn't there like there's comics about like the reluctant superhero, etc. Like you can either, with great power comes great responsibility. I don't know. I just think it's interesting that we get to have all these people on that are developing the culture for what's going to happen. Like when my daughter is, in elementary school, they'll be talking about things that we are possibly a part of. I think it's pretty cool.
And in reality, we're like the boys on Amazon. If you've seen that series.
Yeah, that's.
I think we're better than that.
I one would hope so. I've watched that all the way through. I'm not going to make any spoilers for anybody, but there is some very interesting things going on in that show.
Yeah, that show's wild. But how do you guys find things that you enjoy? Fidel, you talk about you try to like support other projects and other artists, and you think that's like your responsibility. So how do you find things that you are willing to either invest in? Because I think we've as a podcast come to the conclusion that white papers aren't the end all be all, because people can copy pasta. So what do you do? We're not trying to give financial advice, but like what do you look for when you're looking at things?
That's a big question. It's a big question because I'm not the norm. I have so much time for NFTs. I'm not doing my, basically a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when I got in, COVID killed my job. I was a freelance college teacher. I teach photography here in Verona, Italy, and I work at 3 or 4 different schools. I was working at 3 or 4 different schools, kind of like a substitute teacher, but on a more permanent basis. And so when COVID came and all the schools went to, learning from home and learning on a computer and stuff, all of the hours went to the teachers who had tenure. And so all the freelance people lost their jobs. So I went from working, 30 hours a week, 25 hours a week to nothing. And that was last January. And so when I got in NFTs, it became my job. So, I preface what I'm about to say with, I have all the time in the world to be on a computer and to be in NFTs. With that said, I have a method that I use when I'm going through people's work. I actually go through and find what I want to buy, find what I want to learn more about as in technology and advancements in the space, and or find different people that I'm interested in. I try not to cross these wires too much, because then you start doing things like buying people's work simply because you like the person, but you may not like the art, or, not listening to certain people because you don't like the art, but they do have good things to say. And so I try to keep these things separate. So when I'm, quote unquote, looking for new people in the space, I'm simply browsing. I go through Twitter a lot. I spend hours a day in Discords and Spaces and Twitter, listening to new people, listening to advancements in the space, listening to major companies, like OpenSea or Picture This or Sandbox or anyone who's a powerhouse in the space, and seeing what they're doing and seeing what I would change, and so that those kinds of things. So for me, finding people isn't really by chance as much as it used to be. When I first started collecting work a year and a half ago, it was strictly by chance. I'd be going through shill pages and shill posts and just other people's comments and things when I saw art that I like. But now it's kind of more of a mission. I sit down and I say, okay, what am I looking for today? Do I want to buy some work? Then I start looking for different artists and their work. I start going through show posts. Do I want to invest some money into something that I think can bring me money? Then I start to go and look at what other collectors are buying, what's flipping, what's bringing in ETH. Or do I simply want to find new people to look for? And so I start to go through a lot of the GM posts or posts where people are commenting and talking to each other, or spaces, where I can hear new voices and new people, and then start to begin to follow those artists that are, have the same mentality that I do. So it's more of a thought out process with time on my hands, as opposed to just randomly, I got on Twitter and in the first 5 minutes I saw something I liked.
That's awesome that you're able to commit that amount of time. I want to ask that same question of both of Coffee and Outrageous. Outrageous, you can go first, and then Coffee, you can go. But I have so many more questions to go off of what you just said. I just don't want to monopolize time because I'm pretty bad about forgetting that stuff. So there's so much to unpack there. Oh my gosh. But Outrageous, what do you look for?
Oh my goodness. I don't know that there's a direct answer to that. I mean, there's a lot of things that turn me on in terms of what I see in the space. Like I said, I'm a classic rock guy, but EDM there's some kind of a tie. Fidel's photography is so in the moment. It's a great example of just awesome street photography. There's a girl by the name of Lisa Fogarty, who does watercolors. That is phenomenal. There's some digital art out there that's really amazing, and I would agree. The technology behind it, trying to understand where it came from and how it was developed, has really brought me into AI, and that's why I'm experimenting with the various AI vendors that are out there and trying to find out what fits my niche in terms of the style that I like. But how people can tell a story through their art. The PFP 10,000, again, no smack against San, but, the PFPs that are just, line art that have no real thought behind them are obvious. The money grabs are obvious. But where you get a guy like Cro-Magnus who just puts the time and effort into creating the scale and the shadow and the lighting, that this guy cares about what he does. So I think you can get a sense of where the person is coming from. I will tell you, quite simply, looking at photography, if the horizon on a water shot isn't level, it blows my mind. Take a picture of the water, make sure you spend a little bit of time to crop it and straighten it out. But there's just some amazing stuff out there, and the way that people are able to capture it, from their mind's eye to the digital pen or to the camera or to the paintbrush, is absolutely amazing. And it's so indicative of how many beautiful people there are throughout this world that you may not know when you walk down the street and you see them on the sidewalk walking past you. You may not know what their passion is behind them. So I may not be looking for it, but I'm impressed by and absolutely affected by the passion that people are bringing to this space in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. And when I sell more, I'll be able to buy more, and then I'll be able to express my tastes in a monetary fashion. Now I just go wow and click on it and retweet.
I couldn't agree more with what you said. I mean, one of the best things about doing the Crypto Lamb podcast is the level of talent and amazingly talented people that we've had on this podcast is just overwhelming, and it's just completely mind blowing. And it's amazing to watch some of these people work, and it's like I feel because a lot of projects will come on here, obviously, to talk about what they do and to promote what they do, obviously, because they want to bring eyes to what they're doing naturally. And the thing is that one could easily turn around and say that something like this is for people to come and see that. But from my standpoint, sitting here being able to talk to creative minds such as yourselves is just an absolute pleasure, because I don't really have a creative bone in my body, in the sense that I can't put pen to paper, and I've got a Nikon D3500, but I don't really know how to use it properly, and I don't even know if it's that good of a camera. I've got a plethora of lenses and things like that, and I just don't have a clue. And then when it comes to music as well, I love music. I'm really passionate about music, but I couldn't sing to save my life, and I couldn't play an instrument, that kind of thing. So being surrounded by all of these talented people, including yourselves, is just an absolute pleasure, and it's amazing to watch how you guys work and view the world as well. Coffee, I think...
Yeah, I was going to say, Coffee, I think it is your turn to let us know what you look for, because I think you bring a little bit different of a perspective of most of the people we've had on actually this week. So what do you look for and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm attracted to things that are either just innovative technologically, or just aesthetically fun or pleasing. Like I've certainly gotten into things that I thought were just technically super marvelous, and I've gotten into things that weren't because I just liked the art, or liked the community, or it was just cheeky fun. So it's a variety of things, but probably more than anything, I'm interested in technology and innovation. And man, there's so much of that in the Web3 space that it's like a full-time job to keep up with 1% of it. It's like absolutely impossible. And so sometimes I get kind of, I don't know, it's what the term is, analysis paralysis isn't really right, but it's more of like just being overwhelmed by the size of the space and how fast it moves, that it can be overwhelming to keep up with. But that's mostly what I look for, is just some stuff that's innovative.
I think what you talked about, it being overwhelming to keep up with, is something that kind of everyone learns within their crypto journey. My wife is trying to keep up a little bit just by like listening to the podcast, et cetera. And she's just like, how do you keep up with this shit? It's just like, it's always changing. And I'm like, the only constant in life is change, babe. I know. That's why I just got to pay attention. I don't know. That's what I got, But yeah. You guys all touch on like such awesome bits of the analysis part of everything, and like how did Fidel touched on this, and I kind of think it's important because I think it's part of what drives Web3 development, and like Coffee, how did COVID change your perspective on Web3, or if it did, and if it didn't, why didn't it?
Well, I don't know if it changed my perspective on Web3, the technology or the community per se, but it kind of indirectly changed my relationship with it, and like a lot of people, in that I was suddenly working from home, and I don't know if that I'm the most diligent worker remotely for a corporate job. Like I'm at home, I'm distracted, I don't have a boss that's going to walk by. Like anyone, you're probably a little less productive in some ways. So I'm guilty of that, and so it kind of opened up probably more side projects than I should have, but that was Web3 for me, and so it just kind of blossomed into a bunch of things that I wanted to build, and so it just kind of allowed me the space to create a few new things, get into some new groups and projects, maybe during work hours when I shouldn't have, but I'm a workaholic. I'm up late every night, probably to my own health's detriment. So I still get stuff done, even though I may be browsing the web when I shouldn't, or building some contract when I shouldn't. But it just really like opened up a bunch of time and interest in a bunch of other projects for me. Yeah.
Did you are you still working full time and Web3 part time, or have you made the transition to full time Web3 work?
Yeah, it's been full time for, I don't know, 2 years now, I would say. I took a job as the CTO of Wise Token, which is a DeFi staking token on Ethereum. Total value locked got up to about $500 million at one point. I kind of helped found that company more or less and build it into the company it is now. And then I left that to kind of go freelance smart contract work about a little over a year ago, or a little less than a year ago, sorry. And yeah, so it's been pretty much full time. And I've just been having to tell people no now with the amount of people that want to write contracts or get their NFT built. I've got a backlog of people that are like, email me when you're free and all this. So it's been overwhelming in a good way. And but yeah, full time, probably plus 20%, I would say.
Well, welcome to working in Web3, right? That's kind of always how it ends up being. I'm saying it's back to being more than a full-time employee. Outrageous. How has COVID changed your relationship with Web3?
I got in the middle of COVID. I will tell you, in my real life job, COVID hit us hard, and has really made me, pay attention. He says as he coughs, pay attention to the people that I work with and their fears and frustrations. Made me more aware of the government's ability or inability to communicate with people. Made me more aware of social tears, if you will. I don't want to call it polarization as much as just kind of tears in the fabric of how we relate with each other. And I can, extrapolate that thought process to where Web3 is and where I think it can be and should be over time. It hasn't changed what I've done. I've only grown and spent more time. I will say though, Coffee, thank you for the t-shirt. I do have a Wise Token t-shirt from one of the giveaways you guys did last year, I think it was. So thanks for that.
Oh, nice.
And I guess that's kind of the fun part and the funny part of all of this is that we are also intertwined with each other. And we are also dependent upon each other. And I think that's what I'm seeing and feeling and kind of, trying to act through myself is understanding where other people are coming from, because at some point in time, I'm probably going to be sitting next to them having dinner, or I will be in a Zoom meeting with them, or I will meet them on the street, or they'll drop their purse and I'll pick it up for them. Again, it's trying to understand these relationships as we've gotten so far away and gotten behind our screens so much more. We still have to be the human beings that we are. We need to connect with each other. So we need to, if there was one thought process to Web3 for me, is it's how do we build and strengthen communities and support good behavior, for lack of a better term.
So I'm curious to know, like for all three of you, what would you say is the kind of the biggest surprise that you didn't expect when getting into Web3? Could start with Coffee.
Biggest
apologies. Can you just repeat the question real quick also?
Yeah, no, sure. I'm asking for all three of you, what would you say is the biggest surprise or the biggest surprising thing that you didn't expect to find when entering Web3?
I would say...
Gotcha. Thank you. Go ahead, Coffee.
Yeah, I would say I got into Web3 when DeFi was really taking off and NFTs were not really that well known. CryptoPunks were out there, but they were still fairly cheap. Honestly, I think NFTs were the biggest surprise for me. I'd heard about them and they seemed cool, but I never would have envisioned they would take off like this. I thought they would kind of be a niche thing that would be used for a few things. I never envisioned that there would be 1,000,001 ape collections. Like that's still the biggest surprise to me, that the amount of money that's gone into NFTs in the last couple of years, probably the biggest one for me.
Cool. Same question to Fidel.
Well, beyond the shadow of a doubt, I don't want to put it into one simple answer, but money. I never thought I'd make money doing this. I was desperate. I had no job. I had about 2 months rent of savings. Like I said, because of COVID, I didn't really know where to turn. So I just put time and effort into it, because I thought if I can make, $500 on the side, or that'll last another month, if I can make $1,000, I never imagined I'd sell out of everything that I produced. I never imagined that people would love my work. I never imagined that. It's very self-detrimental now that I say it out loud, but I didn't think I'd make it. I didn't think I'd, proverbially make it. So for me, the biggest surprise is the money in the space that I made, and even what others are making. When I see them, there are folks making 10 times more than what I'm making. That surprises me as well.
And yourself, Outrageous?
I guess, certainly Fidel and Coffee have spoken to the two most common things, that hit you. And I guess I'll throw the negative side at it, is the loss of money so quickly. Oh my goodness. Getting in and starting with a 4 GPU miner and being able to generate some Ethereum on a weekly basis was really cool. And it was a couple $100 at a time. And, I got into DFK last August, I think it was, at like 34 cents. And I sold Locked Jewel at $7.38. And I took a whole bunch of profit, and it was awesome. And I gave 60% of it to my wife. And she said, you keep the rest, you reinvest. I know you want to keep going with this crypto thing, but I'm going to take 60% of it. And she still has her 60%, and I got squat. So how quickly we can rise and how quickly we can fall, and being prepared mentally for that and the impact that it has, even though I know I'm still in profit, coming to grips with, I don't have the space or the room or the wherewithal to get into as much as I want to. So it's been humbling, and it's been a great reality check. The bear sucks, but if we can build in the bear, and if we can survive through this, it will be great for many people. So I'm looking forward to that. But again, I think it's if I had to say, it's the emotional impact that comes like an amusement park ride. I mean, you turn on the switch and then you turn it off and it's all over, and it's wild, and it can be very difficult to deal with.
Thanks for the answers, guys. I think you kind of touch on everything that I was thinking about as well. But one of the things that I find probably the most surprising is, coming from, leverage trading and things like that as well. And, I touched on a little bit of mining myself as well. I completely am in line, with your thought process on, how quickly you can fall in that respect as well. And the amount of money that can lose. Unfortunately, I was actually victim to a scam myself. 20 grand in seconds was gone in one particular situation that unfortunately happened. But, again, like you said, being prepared mentally. But I think the biggest surprise for me, or the biggest, most pleasant surprise for me, is the people. And the communities, and the talent, and just everything. That is the biggest thing for me. I never would have expected to see or meet and speak to so many brilliant people. So that's, I think, for me, is one of the biggest things. Priest, you're somebody that understands art way more than me, and I think that you potentially have some far better questions than I. Are you in a position to maybe kind of throw some of those in?
Well, yeah, for sure. I'll just chime in for 1 second with what I think the biggest difference I see in Web3 versus from what you expect versus what you get. And I would actually say that the amount of educated people that play the same games or like have the same interests. I find it really interesting that people who have like either gone through hardships through like either a commitment to a video game or commitment to either maybe a sports team or whatever, how like there's the willingness to deal with bullshit, the various factors that apply there. I think that is kind of really interesting to me because like I'm from the Northeast. I'm from, like I said, I'm from New York, and we don't really fuck around with bullshit that much. So it's just interesting to be like, to see how some people are like cool with, certain levels of mismanagement versus other people are like, dude, F you, this is bullshit. So I just appreciate having people on that we don't have to worry about like whether or not they do those things. But going into art and going into the aspects of that, I wonder between Fidel, which I've seen some of your artwork and your photography, and I've seen some of Outrageous's photography, and I wonder how you set what your process is like, right? Because one of the things I find very difficult for Andy and I to probably relate is like I'm not the most creative person, right? Like that part of the process for me just isn't there. Like I could make up things off the fly, but I'm not really a wonderful person at creating like a vision of exactly what I want. And like when you guys are working on your art, what does your process look? Is that something that like I could possibly relate to in other aspects of my life? If you guys could go into that for me, and then the same question goes for Coffee, because like I said, you create code, you don't create art, but I think that your process also is something that could be really interesting to be shared. So let's start with Outrageous, Fidel, then Coffee.
I'm lucky. I live in an area that is incredibly photogenic. So all I have to do is get my ass out of bed on time, and I can capture a lot of beauty. I have, over 30 years in the construction industry, so I'm interested in details and construction technique and structure, architecture and whatnot. So I get to see that on a daily basis. I don't take pictures or photographs of people all that often in our spaces because of I don't want to get my ass kicked because I can. There can be issues in the photographs that I take in terms of compliance and whatnot. So I got to be careful about that. So I'm much more of an object type photographer than I am a personal photographer. And I'm not a photographer. Fidel is a photographer. He is a professional. He's a teacher. He is, someone that I would aspire to be. I have, my daughter, who is a professional wedding photographer, says, you're a dad with a phone. And now I just bought an actual camera. So I leave myself open to seeing things. And I think the most important thing for me is stopping and giving myself the time to take that photograph, to kneel down on the ground and see the praying mantis and make sure that I get the right angle, and that I allow myself to get in the bubble with that bug, or allow myself to get in the bubble with that flower, or allow myself to be in the landscape that I shoot. There's tremendous peace there. And that, I think, is the hardest part of what I do, is to stop doing what I have to do and do what I can do or what I'd like to do. So being able to flip that switch is really, I think, the hardest thing to do. In terms of, editing or anything like that, most of the stuff that I do is straight out of camera. I do, like I said, I'm really anal about making sure the horizon is level. But for the most part, I don't do a lot of editing. I like to see what I have seen, and I like to see, I would like others to see through my eyes. And last point I want to make is that there are a couple of interesting, I won't call them challenges, but they're great ways, they're great icebreakers on Twitter. where artists will post up their work and others will critique them. I went through an interesting conversation last week with a guy who, said, if you did this and if you did that, it would look like this. And, I gave him the opportunity to edit my picture. And it was so different than what I would have done. It was still great because I think the composition was there behind it. But two totally different thought processes. I think, again, we see sunsets differently. We see sunrises differently. They affect us differently, and we present them in different ways. I don't like to play with my stuff. I don't like to play with my art as much, but I will say with AI, and the stuff that I've been doing there's a lot of tweaking that goes into that thought process and changing the terminology and trying to get it as quote unquote right as I can. That's where I'm coming from.
Thank you. And I don't think you should ever apologize for your process, right? Like it's always ever evolving. And one of the things I thought would be a really wonderful opportunity is to have someone like Fidel with as much experience as he has to discuss his process, because like I'm being selfish here, but I like to try to take people who are we have the opportunity to speak to, who are clearly amazing at what they do, and try to figure out what type of things they do that I could take into either my personal life, my coaching life, or anything, right? Because there's always some type of thing that you're missing. So I just want to make sure that you don't sell yourself short, man. There's always somebody who's appreciative for your process and how that changes it for different from theirs. But Fidel, if you would be so kind as to share what your process is, since you utilize such a different subject matter, I think that would be wonderful.
Well, I'm not going to make you guys happy.
That's not true.
My process is easy to explain, difficult to imitate, but only for one reason. My process is very archival. The thing is, I've been photographing, 23, 24 years, more than that, but the previous stuff was all amateur, not being paid for my work. So I have terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of photos. I'm just the kind of person who I've always collected things, comic books, baseball cards, figurines. I've always kept everything that I could that I've created or in some way felt was a work of art or a creation. So all my photos, all my music, I used to make remixes when I worked in radio. All my friends' birthday cards and things that I've given to me in my life, I keep all those things. So coincidentally, when I moved into the NFT space, it was not a matter, and still is not a matter for me to create. I don't need to create. I have photos upon photos upon photos, all organized, all by year, by date, by city, by place, by who's in it, very methodically done and organized. So when I go to think about making a drop, it's not a matter of creating it for me. Now I do still photograph, a couple of days a week, and I still go out. It's an addiction, but I don't specifically go out and create projects or photograph things and say, okay, this is what I need for this new drop. My entire process is going back through archives, spending days or weeks or what may it be, to go and think of the photos or find the photos or re-edit or rehash some old photos that I completely forgotten about, and to curating my drop, So it's more of a process of putting something together curation wise, as opposed to going out and creating for the purpose of dropping. Now I'm the same way. When you spoke before and you said that you don't edit, I don't really edit anything. I do a lot of black and white work, which requires a lot less editing. I've also become very adept at, through experiences and simply time. I don't need 20 shots to take, the shot that I want. I usually get it on the first hit. If not, I get it on the second hit, and I try to get it in a way where I don't need to go through and edit. So my process is not editing. My process is not creating and going and making plans. A lot of these artists, they have to draw out a plan and draw out a time that they want to go do something, or they need certain models, or they need certain light of day, or like you mentioned before, you need an atmosphere that you're in where you have to go and get the shots that you want. for me, it's all archival. It's all going through. Man, I would love to drop, a collection of street photography. Okay, what kind of street photography? Black and white. Okay, black and white. What else? I want to show, kids or humanity or women or people working, and I go back in time in my own drives and I filter out through my own work and I curate my stuff. So that's more my process there, which is difficult for a lot of people because many photographers who have those years of experience simply haven't kept all the photos. And the other half of the photographers who are creating drops, they don't have the experience. They've been photographing, 5 years or 3 years or something. And so they have to go out and create new work. So that's why I'm saying it's easy to explain, but actually a difficult path to follow.
I was going to say, you made me eat my words. So thank you. I really appreciate that. It's really difficult to, and not only, I just want to applaud you for the fact that you created a database of information that's actually searchable. As an artist, I don't probably think that's very common, but I could be completely wrong. I'm not necessarily the most organized person, but to hear that you had that that foresight almost, right? To keep your work like that. That was a really, really awesome idea. That's a really great job. Thank you for.
Yeah, it was very lucky though. It's definitely not something I planned. It's just my mentality. Even as a kid, man, I had every G.I. Joe. I had every He-Man figurine. I always just kept them in different boxes with different names on them by character, by gender. So my mentality helped me to organize my photos. It just so happens that now there's an outlet for it, and so I'm blessed, man, because of that. It's just luck.
All right. Hey, man, luck is opportunity meets preparedness. I actually believe that. But Coffee Converter, what is your process like? Because, clearly you can't have archives of Solidity contracts. Maybe you do, but, you've only been doing it for 2 years. It's crypto, so maybe it's 24 years worth of code. I don't know. I'm not sure how that works. It's like dog years. What's your process like?
Yeah, so archives for us coders is basically GitHub. So basically all my code I've ever written, at least in recent years or decades, is all in GitHub, mostly in private repos. But yeah, I've got a bunch of contracts I've written, mostly NFTs, and so a lot of the NFTs I write are fairly similar in a lot of ways. There's some core standards. So a lot of times, if I'm starting a new NFT project, it's taking an old NFT I had written, or maybe the most recent one, and adapting it, adjusting it, adding on whatever functionality the project wants for it.
Battery low.
Kind of standard dev stuff, kind of building on what you've already built, modules and things like that. And then that kind of is coupled with some research, if like I said, things move so fast in Web3.
Charging battery.
Solidity has a new version every month or so. So there's a lot of research that goes into seeing what's out there that's new. What do I need to be cognizant of that's changed in the language? What's changed in the tools? Upgrade my tools. So there's a lot of kind of ancillary stuff that has to be done to kind of stay on top of things. And then, yeah, just kind of lots of testing, lots of testing before you even go to testnet, so lots of writing unit tests and integration tests and just automated ways that I can prove out that what I wrote is correct before it even sees the blockchain at all. So Solidity developers typically use a local chain. So I run basically a fake blockchain on my computer that I can deploy my contract to, run tests, do transactions, and script all this stuff so that I could say what happens if 10,000 people all mint at once? Will that work? Okay, yeah, here it works this way. And so you can test all these, wild scenarios without actually needing all these wallets and people to do it. You can just script it all. So it's a lot of, maybe 70 or 80% of working on an NFT smart contract is just writing tests and running the tests and trying to think of other tests that you haven't thought of, scenarios that you haven't thought of, and writing tests for them. So that might surprise some people. And there's certainly some contracts out there where they weren't tested very well, and it's pretty painfully obvious when things collapse. Contracts being immutable deployments that can't ever be changed unless they're an upgradable contract, it's paramount to have zero bugs, which is a hard thing to do, even with a lot of testing. So that's honestly 80% of my time is just testing what I've written. So yeah, trying to be diligent with that is important, because I don't want to deploy a contract that loses people a bunch of money and tarnishes my reputation and all that. I mean, I'm at some point it's going to happen. I'm going to deploy a bug, like it's unavoidable if you're in this space for a long time. So I'm just trying to prolong the streak of not having any major issues by testing 10, 20 times more than I think I need to. So yeah, that's my basic process.
So we have a couple more questions lined up. Priest, do we have a water break today?
I believe so. I think. Well, we always have a water break, right? Like everyone needs to hydrate. But I know that Outrageous was talking about some things in the chat with Rugless, and I don't want to give him the opportunity to discuss what he wants to do.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, sure. I wish I had speaking of water breaks, I wish that I actually had some of our Harmony One water jugs that we have on GameFi Crossing to give away. But no, yeah, we talked about the potential for giving out some NFTs, some of my art, either from the Harmony DaVinci program or OpenSea on Ethereum. I don't know if you guys worked out a way. Are we going to do some kind of a competition, or do we just do a DM me your address and I'll send you something type thing?
I mean, we can do what we generally do the raffle through the for the people who are watching live as like the competition. I think that is if we want to put certain stipulations, we can do that. But Rugless generally just spins the wheel, man. Makes it real easy. This way we kind of just move on, and then they get in touch with Rugless, and then you and Rugless can figure that part out.
What happened? What happened?
We're gonna make stuff away.
Yeah. So I'll set the parameters, at least for my giveaway. Then I would say that if you go onto if you log into any of my addresses or go to my Linktree or whatever, go to either OpenSea or DaVinci. If you go to DaVinci, choose anything that is 501 or less. Get together with Rugless and give him your address, your Harmony address, and I will send you that from DaVinci. Likewise, you can go to OpenSea and take a look at my collection, and anything that is 0.05 F or less, make a note of that. Send your address to Rugless, and I will send that to you as well, and I will try to get those out later today. And I would say 3 of each, 3 from Harmony and 3 from Ethereum.
Right, so how it makes perfect sense. Rugless, are you able to take care of the links to those? I mean, so essentially we can give away 6, right? So we can do 6 giveaways in a row, I think, no?
Yep, and you can choose how much time to take with it. We can come back to it later, or you can recognize the winners now, however you choose to do it. And I will say, Andy, I need your address as well, because I have the Union Jack lamb that I need to send you.
Oh wow, that's really cool. Thank you so much, man. That's awesome.
We talked about it a little bit before the pod. Yeah, thank you for being so generous. This wasn't putting him on the spot. We just hadn't, figured it out. He said he wanted to do this, so we appreciate, going through that. So I guess if you guys are interested, right, you need to hop over to Twitch, make sure you're a follower, and then exclamation raffle, and we will go ahead and raffle off some NFTs. That's so generous. Thank you. And then outside of that, there's a person who I owe some stuff to, GYZ. I owe you stuff from a previous raffle. Please DM me your address so I can give you the things I owe you. I appreciate you.
So
he wins like everything. He's in every contest.
Exactly.
So I'm just going to put just for those listening, I'm going to go ahead and you need to be in the Twitch chat to obviously enter. I am going to put the link for. Oh, you're doing the link. Okay, cool. So we need the DaVinci link and the OpenSea links in there.
Can can you put the link? Sorry, guys, I'm literally doing 30 things at the same time today.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, so I'm going back to put in the links in. So here's the first one for DaVinci in chat now. So there's that. So as said, I think let me get this correct. So on DaVinci, basically, if you win, you're going to pick one of one item from there that is under 501, if I'm not mistaken. So if you win that spot, then you're going to be on DaVinci searching for that. The next one is going to be on OpenSea, where it's going to be 0.5 ETH, I believe. Or no, that sounds 0.5 be 0.05.
No, it's 50.50 ETH, I think.
50.50 ETH has just completely broken my brain. Thanks for. I don't know.
Wait, what? What are you guys talking about? That is what?
50.50 ETH.
Wait, let me mark everything up.
Or get some real drugs, big guy.
Okay. Either way, we will work out the details here. The point is we're giving away 6 spots here, and the raffle is currently running. How long have you got those running for? Because I think we need to run those for because we got
5 minutes.
5 minutes is perfect. Okay, so
Let's go. Let's bring the hype train in the year.
Yeah, so we got 5 minutes to enter. All you need to do is be in the Twitch chat. You need to be following as well. If you're not following, then you ain't getting shit. So screw you. No, so basically you need to be in there and following, and it's very easy to enter. You just type in exclamation mark and raffle. Exclamation mark raffle, not exclamation mark and raffle. You get the point. And the links are in the chat as well to OpenSea and DaVinci are in there as well. If anybody needs me to post them again, I can go ahead and do so. Just let me know. And that is currently live for the first spot, one of 6 that we're giving away. Each one's going to take 5 minutes. So some very, very awesome things going on there. The next question that we typically ask guests, and I think I asked this last time. I think it's your turn this time, Priest, to ask the question. And you have 3 people to ask that question too. So crack on.
No, there's so many. Okay, so one of the things that we do is we end with a positive affirmation. So we're not going to do that this moment. So I didn't message you like my wife told me to, so I apologize. Thank you so much, wife. You're amazing. I dropped the ball. I fucked up. My bad. So we're going to do a positive affirmation. That's how we end. So now everyone's been warned. But what we like to throw people is a curveball. And this is your curveball, everybody. And we'll go with Fidel first, because I doubt he has heard it at all. So it'd be more fun to have him not have any prep. Fidel, if you could relate yourself or your project to a fruit, which fruit would you pick and why?
If I could what to a fruit?
If you could relate yourself or a project that you work on to a fruit, which fruit would you pick and why?
what the hell kind of question is that?
That is, we find it very fun to it's disarming, right? Like it's like, what?
Well, it's specifically difficult for me because I'm not a fruit eater. I'm a meat and potatoes man. I don't remember the last time I had a fruit. Compared to a fruit, let's see. Well, there are no black and white fruits. That would be too easy. Not that I can think of, at least. I would say an apple, probably because, including myself as a comparison to a fruit also, you can put that in the mix. Apples, at least to me, are the kind of fruit that are everywhere, normal base fruit, let's say. But it's because of their basicness, it's because of their unique taste that's prevalent in many different countries. Everyone knows what an apple is: apple juice, applesauce, apple pie, and so there are many of them. I put my work that way. It's something that everyone can have. I try to keep my prices at a price range where people can all get in. I'm not a 10 ETH a photo kind of guy. I'm a 0.05 but do hundreds kind of guy. And also it's a kind of taste, let's say, in your mouth that's, you're not expecting this grandeur of flavor, but it's something that's consistent enough and good enough where you always got room for an apple, So I guess that would be the easiest way, at least offhand, that I can answer that question.
I think that's quite possibly one of the longest ever answers that we've been given in the most depth. And the fact that you turn around and said, what kind of question is this? And then gave such a beautiful answer. I applaud you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking.
Of course. Now, coffee converter. If you could relate sound to a fruit, which fruit would it be and why? And also yourself, too. But, we've had multiple people from San now on, so I want to compare and contrast there. But, yes, sir, the floor is yours.
Oh man, tough question. I guess I'll go with myself first. The only one that really comes to mind. I'm not going to draw a very interesting parallel here, but I'll just go with pineapple because, well, number one, it's my favorite, and I do like how it's just super spiky and harsh on the outside, but just so good on the inside. And I don't think I'm really like that, but at times I'm a little bit crass and dismissive and blunt, and so I kind of feel like that. Like, you get to know me, I'm a teddy bear, but maybe at first glance I'm just kind of a little bit of an ass. So yeah, maybe pineapple for myself. For sound, oh, maybe. God, are there any triangle shaped fruits? I don't know that there are.
Pepper.
Watermelon slice is usually
Strawberry,
triangle.
maybe?
Well, yeah, there you go. Strawberry is kind of triangular. Yeah, let's go strawberry. I like it. It's red and it's kind of triangular.
Well, I mean, to me, pizza's a fruit, so that would work for me. Triangular shape, right cut, sort of color as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, I like it. All right, Outrageous Cat. If you could relate...
Well, I was going to say thank you.
Go. No, you're good, dude.
I've got the answer. Well, I was going to say thank you to Fidel I was going to say thank you to Fidel for giving me enough time to think about it, and to Crypto for giving me the answer or substantiating my answer, if you will. I would say my first thought was pineapple as well. Prickly on the outside, don't want to touch it, but once you get inside, if you can get past the rind, just recognize that this particular pineapple has some brown spots inside too, so you're probably going to have to cut away some shit from the inside.
I like that. That's a really good answer.
That sounded funny.
Still not.
Do we have our first winner?
Probably.
So, Team Noir 4 has won a DaVinci or OpenSea. You've either won DaVinci or OpenSea. OpenSea obviously being a multi-million-dollar NFT platform. Congratulations for winning OpenSea. So, no, you have won one of particular works from Outrageous Cat from either OpenSea or DaVinci. I think potentially open up Discord. So if how do I do that? Is it ! Discord that I put in chat, Rugless? Is that how that works? Yes, it is. So join that Discord.
Yeah, we're failing to run that properly on our end. We apologize. How about you guys reiterate which causes you guys care about? So if the people out there had the opportunity to try to do some research and maybe they have some funds that they could throw towards the things you care about, let's make sure we plug those again while we go through these next raffles. So if you could remind everybody, Coffee, about the things that you want us to bring awareness to.
Yeah, so I'm trying to right now curate artists, find new artists that are interested in contributing a piece of art to a collection I'm going to launch, I don't know, maybe later this year, to be a 100% charity fundraise for domestic violence charity. It's pinned on my Twitter, I believe, right now. It's my pinned tweet. My Twitter's Coffee Converter. And yeah, that's it.
By the way, can you do me a favor, Coffee, and shoot me a DM whenever that gets underway? I'd like to be a part of that. I'll just let you know now.
Yeah, for sure. I'll DM you now just so I have you on my list.
Thanks.
Coffee likes lists.
Yes.
So
I'm in too, Coffee. I think you and I spoke.
Yep, I got you.
So because because we have 5 more prizes to give away here, make sure you guys are in the Discord as well. So if you are a winner for today, you can reach out to Regulus later. Because of the time as well, we're going to move on to the final part of the show, and as Priest already alluded to, the positive affirmation side as well, where we ask people to give a positive affirmation to people that are listening into the show. What I'm going to say here, we don't normally do this, but because we have 6 giveaways to do and not enough time to complete them all in it, I'm going to leave the stream on afterwards with some music playing, and the raffle will continue to run whilst that music is playing. So even though we're not here chatting away, you will still be able to enter the raffle as long as the stream is going there as well. As I'm sure everybody can appreciate, Rugless is actually working at exactly the same time, so he doesn't have always the ability to do multiple things at once like most of us don't. So Rugless, just to make life a little bit easier for you, dude, I'm going to go to the dashboard, and I'm going to take that over. It's asking me to log in now and everything. Oh my god. So I'm going to go ahead and take.
Let's start with Coffee Converter. If you could give everybody out there something positive as a message to take from today, what would you like that to be? Maybe your personal motto. Maybe it's not your personal motto. Maybe it's something about what you want to bring awareness to. The floor is yours, sir. Give the people something to take from today.
I mostly like to try and focus on just being as resilient as I can. You can only control so much in the world. Don't sweat the little things. Just try and focus on yourself and your own happiness. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. Invest in yourself, focus on your own happiness, and then once you've solved that, then try and make other people happy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Fidel, what have you got for the people out there?
Well, I actually have something for this. First, I want to say, Coffee, I just want to send sound, and had my face melted by the opening sound there. Fantastic. But I tell everyone that I meet, especially people newly on board into the space, something that I learned for myself and something I share. Expect nothing, appreciate everything. The space is so unpredictable. You can find success in 5 minutes. You cannot find success in 5 months. You can make money, not make money. It's one of those things where if you go in with the expectation of all of these magical things happening to you, it's so much easier to be disappointed that way. But if you go expecting nothing, just starting from the ground up, all those little things that do eventually happen, you will appreciate them so much more, simply because you started at zero and now you're moving forward. So I tell people, expect nothing, but appreciate everything.
I like that. Yeah, I really like that.
I know that he said that before in public. I like that a lot. Kat, I'm sorry you have to follow that up. What have you got for the people?
Can you guys still hear me?
Oh yeah.
I can.
Okay, my phone just shut off. I would say on a more practical note, and I echo the thoughts of both Coffee and Fidel. And I'll go back quickly to what I said earlier about my style is basically just find the time to stop yourself from doing what you're doing and, doing what you have to do, and find a place to do what you like to do. Even if it's for 30 seconds, take time, it's an old adage, but, take time to smell the flowers. It's so true. It's huge, and it can make a difference in your life. And I do want to kind of return back to earlier conversations about substance use and abuse and suicide. It is still Suicide Prevention Month. I lost a friend of mine last week to alcoholism, which in many ways is a slow form of suicide. I think it's a conversation that we need to keep having, and we need to be aware of, and we need to talk about. And if you need help, In the United States, anyway, there's a 988 number that you can call, and they can point you in the right direction. There are people that you can talk to. On a broader perspective, whether it's substance abuse, mental health issues, etc., there are literally thousands of websites out there, but one good clearinghouse is samhsa.gov, and it's samhsa.gov. Either one of those two resources can help you out. You know, there's NAMI, there's Mates in Construction is a good one, I believe, in Australia, and I think Mates also in England. But there's a tremendous amount of resources out there. So if you are in need, if you think you are in need, or if you know somebody that you think may be in need, please reach out and start asking some questions, because there are those of us that will do absolutely everything we can to hold you up.
Well said.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you very much for that. That's it's super important. It's again, it's something that's very kind of personal to me as well. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, guys.
All
This has
right.
been an awesome program.
Well,
we just appreciate you, everyone, coming on and feeling comfortable enough to share with stuff with us, and we couldn't do it without you guys being here. So thank you. We appreciate you sharing the things that matter to you with us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Lots of fun.
Absolutely concur with that, and unless there's anything anybody else wants to put down and say, we're going to close out now. Does anybody have anything they want to say?
Yeah, just two things real quick. How dare you send me to something I want to buy and now I can't buy it because I'm not whitelisted? I heard you. I'll hold you personally responsible, Coffee. I'll DM you, though, to get in on that. Thing number two, I love the giving away of pieces, and I have a project that I did with Adam Goldman, who's another photographer in the space. We have a She project, which is it's kind of a 1K, one-of-one project in photography that we've been working with, and I love to give some away. So if you have a place where I can give those away, or if you guys personally would like one, shoot me a DM, and I'll send you a few.
And I'll just make every day a tweet about it and make a big contest, one that works.
I'm all in.
Thank
Just
you,
let me
Rugland.
know. Let me know what I got to do. I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll DM you. I'll probably fuck it up, but it's okay.
No, I'm
We're
sure.
all gonna fuck it up. It's Web3. We're all learning, right? Like we're creating this shit. Like we're figuring it out right now. It's all good. I just appreciate people are so generous, right? Like we don't charge anyone to ever come on. That's kind of our thing. We're never ever gonna do that. Like if we somehow end up making money from doing this, like that's awesome. We're still never charging people to come on because, like, I don't know, giving people the opportunity to show how awesome they are is kind of one of the things that I really enjoy about what we get to do. So thank everybody for being here, and I'll shut up now.
Absolutely concur with everything, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on today. I'm going to ask every single one of you to say goodbye to everybody. We're going to continue running the raffle. I'll explain that in a little bit more depth in just a second, but say goodbye, everybody. Thanks again for everybody being here. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
guys.
Yeah.
Love you.
Take care, everybody. Thanks again, and for everybody there who is wondering how they can get involved in the raffle, which is still currently underway, just stick around and chat. There's going to be some music playing in the background, but just keep an eye on the chat and how to enter. The current raffle is still open, I believe. That hasn't yet closed. Oh no, it's literally just closed this second, so I'm going to go ahead and pick the winner. This is winner number 3, and that is Gondorf. And I'm just going to start the music here in a second and then start raffle number 4 of 6. So stick around in the chat to that, and make sure you join our Discord so that you can obviously claim this prize as well. Thank you, everybody.
Swipe left, someone said something stupid. Swipe right, now I'm watching what you did. If I were down, now I'm at a disadvantage. But I think that it's worth it. I put my headphones on, I play my favorite song. I go to sleep and try again. Mama used to try and tell me no man is an island, but I think I feel like drifting away. Mama used to say tomorrow never comes, so make the most, but I think I am done with today. I think I am done with today. Boss says, man, you gotta make an effort. Feel like all I do on earth is just say yes, sir. And when I tell people how they make me feel, they treat me like a leper. I put my headphones on, I play my favorite song. I go to sleep and try again. Mama used to try and tell me no man is an island, but I think I feel like drifting away. Mama used to say tomorrow never comes, so make the most, but I think I am done with today.
I got a bottle of Patron and some lights off, 2 red devil looking eyeballs, and I finna turn up when the night falls. If you hear a siren, then it's my fault. Jump in my whip, baby, let's ride. We ain't gonna stop at a red light, and I'ma take shots like a Tech 9. It's gonna get live. Here we go, it's about to go down. Let me know, I'ma buy another round. Get low, drop it down to the ground. Oh yeah, wow, shorty make it bounce. Mama see the put cuffs on my cardiac. Took my breath away like a heart attack. And I'ma spend every dime in my money back. Everybody wanna know. If you're ready, let me know. Let's go. If you're ready, let me know. Let me know. Let me know. If you're ready, let me know. Here we go. Let's go. I got a bottle of Grey Goose and ice cubes. Type of drink that'll put me in the right mood. 80 proof's gonna lower my IQ. And I've been the same way since high school. I look shorty right in her brown eyes. She about to take a trip to Cloud 9. I'm the man, baby, I get the crowd hype. I turn the cadence of a hook into a soundbite. Here we go, it's about to go down. Let me know, I'ma buy another round. Get low, drop it down to the ground. Oh yeah, wow, shorty make it bounce. Mama see the put cuffs on my cardiac. Took my breath away like a heart attack. And I'ma spend every dime in my money back. Everybody wanna know. Let's go. If you're ready, let me know. Let me know. Let me know. If you're ready, let me know. Here we go. Let's go.
There's been something on my mind and it keeps hurting me. like I have been your enemy. You are something I don't want to have. A million problems inside of my head. This is something I cannot forget. Another one. You're a needle in my. No, I didn't see the signs, cause you kept hiding it. Now slowly every part of me is shivering. I kept denying all the pain and didn't want to hurt again. Now slowly I began to see the real you. You are something I don't want to have. A million problems inside of my head. This is something I cannot forget. Another one. You're the only one. You are something I don't want to have. A million problems inside of my head. This is something I cannot forget. Another one. You're a needle in my eye. You are something I don't want to have. A million problems inside of my head. This is something I cannot forget. Another one. You're a needle in my eye.
I used to sleep with open eyes. I used to pray just to keep us alive. Now all I can see is we're drifting apart. I can't believe how it all turned dark. Bring me the light, bring me the light, bring me the light. Bring me the light, bring me the light, bring me the light, bring me the light, bring me the I can't believe how it all turned dark. Bring me the light. When the night is falling, I feel the darkness
ain't stopping. No, I ain't stopping. Homie, regardless. And I ain't stopping. No, I ain't stopping. I'm just getting started. Let's go. My skin is pale, but I'm a black sheep. Riding through the city, Satan in the backseat. Hey, yo, that's me. I run it like a track meet. A rap fiend. I set the bar high like an athlete. Step in the booth and Zach gon' drop that 808. Cause the vibe is dope and the beat is cracking. Now it's getting laced. I'm sharp as a razor blade. I can blow your mind like JFK. I do what I want. You ain't gonna box me in like David Blaine. We get it poppin', homie, day and night. Got the party jumping, about to break the ice. Stay up on my grind, that's my way of life. I got tunnel vision, I'ma chase that ray of light. Homie, day and night. Got the party jumping, about to break the ice. Stay up on my grind, that's my way of life. I got tunnel vision, I'ma chase that ray of light.